Hey everyone, it's that guy over there bringing you the first game of the Universal Battle GT. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Universal Battle, it is a kind of online version of playing Warhammer. Essentially, as you'll see, you have it's a map. Really, it's just like a picture file or something. Like imagine you were playing this in Paint or PowerPoint or something where you had a picture, which was the map, and then you had um, little pictures of models that you could arrange in different formations and move them around. It's got a dice simulator in there and some various tools, so you can like tape measures and stuff like that. So you can actually play a game Warhammer online. So was kind of excited to test it out. I am a pro user. It asks you if you want to become a pro user, and I just did it. But so I could have a better it's very important to have the right models to represent everything. So with the pictures in the pro version, you get a little bit better pictures or more options. So anyway, without further ado, that's kind of my Universal Battle plug. But we'll get into the list. I am playing Tomb Kings this game against a gentleman from Holland. So that's kind of the cool thing about this tournament too, is that you're playing people all over the world. And we had 2 weeks to play this game. We got the game in, and tomorrow we'll be hearing our next pairings. So here's his list. It is so Tomb King. He's got the actual Tomb King model. He's got the High Priest, and it's interesting to note. I didn't know this at first, but in ETC rules, first of all, he gets a 2,700 point list for an ETC, and then he also gets when his Hierophant dies, he doesn't crumble. So an interesting point later. Priest and Necrotect, Tomb Priest, 2 big blocks of Skeleton Archers, some Scouting Horse Archers, a big block of Tomb Guard, Necropolis Knights, 6 of them, a War Sphinx and a Casket of Souls. Here's my list. I won't stay very long on it. This is what I ended up settling on for the tournament. It's kind of similar to my last GT list, but I took the Razordons out and I replaced them with the Temple Guard, some various other changes. I added in a bunch of Pterodon Riders too. So there's that. So I didn't take a picture of the deployment, but really this is deployment plus Vanguards, and then I moved my Pterodons. And other than that, that's really all that's changed here. So as you can see, our 2 guard blocks are lined up opposite each other, and then I've got a lot of chaff lined up and ready to redirect those Necro Knights and the Tomb Kings. So I was just going to hide those guys, and then so I mean, this is really all that there is. His Casket of Souls is back there on the edge of the table, and we're off to the races, I guess. So this is the end of the first movement phase. Really, I'm just trying to get all my flyers out of line of sight of all these different units, and I'm trying to also get past his front arc, so that way I can kind of be in the flanks and cause a problem for myself. Make a problem of myself, but cause problems for him. So dropping rocks was pretty effective. I was able to take out 3 of the the horse archers there. But then that was a pretty uneventful movement phase. Of note, I was able to get my Skink Priest within 24 inches of the Necro Knights. So we'll see here in my first magic phase, I get a boosted Searing Doom through. No, he had Amber Spear. That was the spell I rolled up for him, was Amber Spear. So I did a boosted Amber Spear. I killed 2 of the Necro Knights, but then the resulting miscast killed a couple of skinks, and they fled. Actually, they lost enough to flee. So anyway, I'm hoping to rally them next turn, or else they're just going to flee off the board. But that was pretty much the only thing I did for my magic phase here. And then shooting, I pretty much I kill 4 of the horse archers, and really not much else. I'm still kind of out of range for most of my stuff. So here's my opponent's turn 1. He this is also including magic, so he kind of reforms his lines to try to castle up around his archers and his magic users, and those red dots on his units, that shows where my blot toad markers are for my Ripperdactyls. But he kind of identifies them as a threat, so he gets off an irresistible casket spell, which starts doing various wounds. He only kills a couple of... he kills 1 Pterodon, 1 Ripper, and then that's the end of it. So, and in shooting, he's going to put 1 wound on the Ripperdactyl unit that already is missing a guy, and the Pterodons, they panic from losing one of their models. So, but kind of a blah casket roll, and then the shooting, it was like he had 40 shots. It wasn't 40 shots. It's like 30 shots or whatever, and when he's rolling it up, he always hits on a 5 no matter what, and he just wasn't rolling those 5s. It was he kind of had some poor luck in the game, and it's weird because it's a program, so you'd think it'd give us averages all the time, or at least be a little kinder than dice, but nope, it's definitely like dice, and it can hose you sometimes. So this is my turn now. This is my turn 2. I charge the Pterodon Riders into the flank of the casket, so I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. But other than that, I don't have any charges to make. I do end up rallying those Pterodon Riders that were fleeing, and as you'll see here, this is the rest of my movement phase. I do rally the Skink Priest, which is good, and so talking about the bottom right hand corner, the Ripperdactyls are a very expensive unit just to sacrifice, but I was still in the mindset that if I took out the Hierophant, that everything would start crumbling every turn. So I was really shooting for that guy. Plus, regardless of crumbling or not, killing the level 4 is kind of what I've said that these guys are supposed to do. So if I kill the level 4, I'm going to have dominance in the magic phase, especially if I can take out the casket, because he gives you plus D3 magic dice every turn. And then the rest of my units here are just chaffing up. I start to set up something that sounded like a good idea at the time, but to try to get the Temple Guard or the Tomb Guard to hit that Skink unit and then overrun into my Temple Guard, because then we would fight the combat on my turn, and I could maybe set some charges up. I really want the Ripperdactyls to get in the unit too, so I need to buy some more time still, but that's something I'm looking at doing, is having them overrun into the Temple Guard and then charging in with all those Rippers and getting off as many debuffs as I can to take out the Temple Guard. So that's kind of what my thoughts are now, but it remains to be seen on how the rest of this turn goes. With magic and shooting, you can see I put 2 more wounds on the snake unit. I can't remember what. Maybe that was shooting. I'm not sure how they got those 2 wounds on them. But still pretty uneventful for magic and shooting. And here's after combat. So the Pterodon Riders only take 1 wound, and they kill the casket, which is pretty big on the second turn to have that going for me. And now I'm behind his army, and I've got him pretty well encircled. So see what I can do with it. So he declares some charges. The Ripperdactyls obviously get charged. The snakes charge the Skink unit that flees. And then the Tomb Guard, they charge a couple of units. I have to do a double flee away just because I'm not prepared to accept the charge just yet. In magic and shooting phase, he puts 2 wounds on that salamander, which again, you'd think more he would have just killed it, but I think I got a lucky handler save, and then trying to get the wounds through. They just weren't going through. So lucky for me. And then he kills one of the Ripperdactyls. So now I'm down to 5, effectively 5, because he's just going to wipe these ones out, as you see in this picture here. And I think the skinks actually panic. So that's why they slid back, which is kind of funny. But they're outside of everybody's leadership. So on my turn, I declare some charges here, rally some troops. I rally pretty much everything. So, but the Ripperdactyls getting in is pretty big. I have 2 in base-to-base contact with the Hierophant, so he should die. And then I just need to hope that my 5 Ripperdactyls is enough to take out that horde of archers. Here's the rest of my movement phase. So note my critical error here. I just barely covered that Tomb Guard unit with my Ripper or my Pterodon Riders, and when he declares a charge with the archers, they will squish together, and then the Tomb Guard have a shot at getting into my Slan. So, and in the magic phase, he does actually get off the Speed of Light spell because he's got that level 2 to light. And so now they're movement 8, and that's definitely a makeable charge. So my Skink Priest, you can see where he's at now behind the Slan in that skirmisher unit, and then everything else is just, getting ready to either chaff up or just kind of getting in the way of all his stuff. So I do have some opportunities at some shots with the Salamander, so let's see what that does. Here's just another picture. Not sure what I'm showing here. So I misfire with one, and then, I think I kill off like 1 or 2 of the Tomb Guard. So not very effective with the Salamanders. They didn't do very well this game. So this is after combat. I kill the Hierophant, and this is when I find out that he doesn't crumble when the Hierophant dies. And look at how many archers died. So I took a wound on each of my units of Ripperdactyls, and he's down to 14. So that, and I get all the same bonuses every round. So I'm hoping to blow through them and then turn around, and now I can set up my charge, because I was thinking he was gonna get tied up on that Pterodon unit. He would overrun into and see, I thought I was doing such a good job. See, so he would overrun into the Skink unit. The Skink unit would cause him to expose his flank. So then I would have Temple Guard in the flank, Ripperdactyls in the rear, and then those Skinks would just be 10 free wounds. But I was hoping I was going to do so many that it was just going to be catastrophic for that Tomb Guard unit. And then, so I thought I was doing so well, and if I just slid those guys over just a little bit more, I would have been in the money, but I didn't. I messed it up, and my opponent capitalized on it with that charge with the archers. So this is what it looks like. I could have fled with my Temple Guard, but he was movement 8, and I was just afraid that he was going to overrun. Like, I would roll a 3 and not bounce past the Skinks, and then he would just catch me, and that would be devastating. So I had to take it on the chin. Still got some tricks up my sleeve, but this is definitely not the way I wanted it to go. And then the archers obviously get into the Pterodon Riders. So bad news bears. And this is the result. Look at that. So I do take out the rest of the archers, but he kills almost all of my Temple Guard. I have 4 left out of the 28. They were brutal. His spell had worn off by now because he had cast it last magic phase, and then without a level 4, it's kind of hard to push through any spells anymore. But yeah, just brutal. So the combo here is that the King gives them all weapon skill 6, the Necrotect gives them all hatred, and there's a lot of ways that you can give him extra attacks. He wasn't able to get those, but I mean, 3+ rerollable, and then they're strength 5 with halberds with killing blow, and so they're wounding on 3s, and then that's pretty much all my armor. Strength 5, yeah. In close combat, I have a 4+ armor save. I have light armor and a 5+, yeah, so 4+ armor save, which goes to a 6+, and he just ate them. If I'd gotten some of my buffs off, I probably would have done better, and it was pretty brutal. So my only hope now is that I can use my Lore of Shadow Melkoth spell, sneak that through, and then bounce over to where my Skink Priest is. That's really my only hope at this point. So this is pretty pretty heartbreaking, because I really thought I was doing a good job, and and my opponent just capitalized on it. I made the smallest of mistakes, and he saw it, and it turned into a huge deal. Like, this could potentially cost me the game type deal. So, anyway, I do what I think is I'm pretty desperate at this point, so I chaff up everything I can chaff up. His archers are set up for a perfect shot with my salamander, and before they get killed, I had to charge my skirmishers out of the way so that my croc score unit could get through, and so there's that, and then everything else is just kind of in supporting positions. Because he doesn't have a BSB, so he has a banner, obviously, in all those ranks, but I can disrupt him, and really I'm just looking to maximize my combat resolution so that I kill basically double my combat resolution that I win by. Yeah, so like if I got 10 and he got 5, then 5 more guys would die. So I was just trying to max up on that. So now I've got a banner, a BSB, a musician, a rank, a flank, a rear, and we'll see what happens. So when the magic phase comes around, I get it. I get the Melkoths off. I cast a 5 dice, because in ETC you can only throw 5 dice at a spell, so you roll 5 dice. I don't get an irresistible force. His dispel scroll's already gone, and he can't dispel it. So I pop over there, and it was a boosted Melkoth, so that kind of helps me. And then I can't remember what I cast with the rest of my dice, but that's what it looks like. In the shooting phase, you can see I kill about half of the archer block, which actually is pretty impressive. The salamander, this is like the perfect, like the most perfect shot I've ever had with the salamander, being 2 inches away from a horde of 40 skeleton archers. That was about the best performance I think you could ever have with them. So, yep. So now watch this. You saw how the last turn, how quickly all my stuff died. Now watch this combat phase. Boom. So the Ripperdactyls go nuts. So he kills the Temple Guard, he kills the Skink Priest, and then he kills a couple of the Ripperdactyl models. But I've still got 3 models there, so I lost 2. And the whole unit's gone except for 5 of them, and then the 2 characters. I'm sorry, the Necrotect is in there, so 4 Tomb Guard and a Necrotect, a Tomb King, and a Tomb Priest. So that's like 27 or 28 to 4. So the Ripperdactyls did what the Temple Guard could not, because even debuffing them, that just meant I got to strike first initiative-wise, because the Ripperdactyls have the same initiative as the Temple Guard, and their weapon skill 6, so even if I decreased them by 3, I'd still be hitting on 4s. Just consider that it was pretty crazy how effective that ended up being. And then, I thought this was really bad, but my skinks, they held up somehow. I think they rolled double 1s or something. It was ridiculous. So, yep, there's that. So on his turn, he charges. Pretty much all he can do is charge that skink block there with his... I think I actually killed one on the stand and shoot, which is kind of crazy. So, because I think, yeah, yep, I killed one on the stand and shoot, which is stupid. But I was rolling pretty well for the 6s on poison. And then he's going to reform his archers and pick off that. He actually kills both salamanders. He uses his he casts a spell, and he has Shim's Burning Gaze, and that does some. I think it might wound him. He takes a strength 6 hit or something because he gets an irresistible force and kills off a salamander, and then he shoots the other one. Fortunately, nobody panics. In combat, you can see I kill the rest of the Tomb Guard, and I also kill the Necrotect. So now he's just down to the 2 characters, and I might have actually just focused all my attacks that I could on the Necrotect, and then with all the static combat res, killed the rest of them. So now I'm looking really good. I have a rear, a flank, a rank, a banner, a BSB, musician. So it's a lot of static combat res, and that's really the key to taking out these units here. All right, and so this was the point where we ended up taking a week-long hiatus because we had to. He's 7 hours different than me, so he had to go do something. So there's a week in between here and now. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the cool thing about Universe Battles. You can save battle reports and come back to them, or save battles and come back to them. So here's what I do. I charge the pterodons into the rear of the archers. It was too far of a charge for the pterodons, so I just flew them up. The skinks in the bottom right-hand corner go into the woods so that they can be stubborn and then shoot poison shots out. I march my cohort unit out of the way, so now he's got nothing to shoot at. The slan breaks off because now that unit's in combat, he can't shoot at him or anything, so he's out. And my goal here is that I think I can win that combat in the middle without much help. So I'm just going to throw all my magic missiles at his Necropolis Knights because those are like 400 points. Yeah, 410 points. So because I did the math and I sent him all of my findings based on like where we were points wise, and we were actually very close in points. It was going to be a draw if we had stopped there. So I need to start looking at these points, picking up points where I can. So after the magic phase, I get. It could have been the end of that unit right there, but I got a big Shim's Burning Gaze off, so 2d6 strength 6 hits, which did the most damage. And then when I got off Searing Doom, I got that one off too, and I rolled double ones for the number of hits. So, and I think I did 1 wound. And then Spirit Leech, I used 1 dice, got that, and just didn't wound him. I rolled a 2 and he rolled a 3. So Spirit Leech isn't as cool as it sounds sometimes. So after combat, I actually get a killing blow on the Tomb King, but he ward saves it, and then he kills that. Or no, he misses all of his attacks. This combat in the middle went so... I mean, he attacked the single Ripperdactyl 9... He had 9 attacks, and he missed all of them. And he needed 3s to hit. It was really bad rolling. Bad luck. Because computer... You can't even say it's his rolling because it's a computer program, but... when I reformed them into ranks, that just gave me just enough static combat resolution to kill both of the characters. And then when the king died, my will be done or whatever, that's where the casualties, because he only killed like 1. No, we didn't do any wounds this combat. That's what happened. No wounds whatsoever because he ward saved my killing blow. I didn't hit it all with the Croxagore. The Skinks didn't do anything. The Tomb Prince, he got 1 wound through, and then I rolled my parry save with my Skinks. And but I had 6 combat resolution, which was just enough to kill off the characters. And then when his king died, that's where the Ripperdactyl died with his D6 strength 5 hits, and then the couple Skinks that you see missing. That's what happened to them. So that's a big turning point, obviously. Was shooting, I had picked off a wound. I'm trying to pick up that cat in the bottom corner, and then combat. You see, I I didn't take any wounds from the archers, and um, now it's down to like 4 archers and the caster, um, which is good. I think I might be able to finish them off with the pterodons then. So for his turn, he charges the bottom right-hand corner skinks, and they just flee off the table because of the terror, uh, which was bad for me. I was hoping to plink off a couple of wounds. So, and then he starts to move away with his... He's trying to get cover with his chariot. So, yeah, that's pretty much all he has to move anymore. So this is the last picture of the game. I do not pick off the cat. I actually rolled a poison wound, and then with my hits, I rolled a 6. So he had 2 wounds to make, and he made one of them. So he had 1 wound left at the end of the game. And I came up over here. He deleted his Necro Knight unit by mistake, so we put a chariot down. And that's kind of a problem here, is if you delete your units, it's kind of hard to just pop them back in there. So I'm able to get off a big Spirit Leech. I Irresistible Force it, and 2d6 hits, and then I put a small template over myself and take 1 wound. So, and lose the rest of my power dice. So he's gone, and that's the end of the game. So, see how it turned out. It turned out to be an 18-2 victory for the Lizardmen. So, kind of interesting thing about this tournament is that they're using victory points as a tiebreaker. So, conceivably, if I played there's probably 3 or 4 Tomb King players, but if you were to play those 3 players, they get more victory points, right? Because they have 2,700 points, and so if you played them more than maybe the next guy, you might be in better shape for tiebreakers. So, kind of interesting. But man, I know it says an 18-2 on there, but the Tomb Kings and ETC stand to have a lot of really good combos. And I think that's why so many people brought them to this tournament, is that those Tomb Guard just kicked the crap out of my Temple Guard. ETC took away a lot of their weaknesses, like the crumbling when the Hierophant dies, and gave some extra points. And they have a lot of really good units. And I know this battle report wasn't representative of the Necro Knights, but they seemed really hard too. So I tried to keep them out. I tried to keep the Tomb Guard out, but he got through my net, and it just about won him the game too. He was just about to killing blow my Slan, and it would have been terrible. So Ripperdactyls. I know Temple Guard seemed like they would, in the fluff, it seems like they would protect the Slan, and that they would be really tough and hard to deal with. But you saw how the Tomb Kings just wiped the floor with them, and then the Ripperdactyls came in and wiped the floor with them in return. I think Ripperdactyls are a combat unit. I think that taking any kind of Saurus outside of a character, even though I can't get the Saurus characters to work for me, is any kind of Saurus model I feel like is a concession at this point. I really want to like the Temple Guard, and I'll give them a few more tries. They definitely have a lot more static combat resolution and can stand toe-to-toe better with bigger units. And I think there's something to that, getting somebody to overrun into them and then charging in all the Ripperdactyls to keep all the characters pinned in the front, and just wiping out a big unit like those. If I had done that in the Tomb Guard, maybe I would have been able to keep the Temple Guard alive. But yeah, it was really rough. And the key is you got to get all those buffs and debuffs off with the Slan. So, but I messed that up. My opponent capitalized on it, and he just about killed off everything. So, the Necro Knights, I kept them out of combat. Those guys seem really hard, but my list is pretty good at keeping, at least if there's 1 or 2 units, you could keep them out of any significant combats if you want to with the list I have. So the Necro Knights, though, they seemed really tough. They're toughness 5 and 3+ armor save and killing blow and blah, blah, blah. They're so good. I don't know. And even that Sphinx, I mean, it's, again, I have poison shooting, but it's toughness 8. So even a bolt thrower is wounding it on a 6. So pretty good. And then Wandering Deliberations, I said allowed me to win, but really it saved me from losing. Having access to Shadow just when I needed it, unlike Lore of High Magic, where you kind of have to cast a spell and then get it. Just having that spell attribute, and you really got to maximize the effectiveness of your spell attributes with Wandering Deliberations. But being able to pop out of that combat, it's always been the ace in the hole. It's still my ace in the hole. It allows me to recover from mistakes, allows me to be a bad player and still pull something out. So because again, the 18-2, I don't think it's representative of how this game went. He definitely deserved to beat me when he got into that combat with the Temple Guard, and I was able to leverage something to get it out. So my opponent was great. I think he invited me next time, if either after the tournament or whatever, if I ever want to play, give him a message. We had a really good time, and it was really interesting to play somebody from Europe over the computer. So anyway, good showing for the Lizardmen in the first game. The 18-2 is a pretty strong victory, and then I got quite a few victory points that would be hard to match at this level, at this early on in the tournament. 2,670 victory points would be hard to match, because even if you tabled your opponent, unless they were Tomb Kings, you might not get that many points. So anyway, I have 2 weeks to play the next game, and they'll announce the pairings tomorrow, and so you expect to see something in the future. Until then, though, definitely search UB Universal Battle reports and watch the content people are putting out. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. I feel like this is a Warhammer worldwide experiment right now to see what we can do online, what the community can do online. So, all right, thanks for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe.